What if the only person who could save the world was the only person who had already read how it ends? Not a hero, not a soldier, not someone with a destiny carved into their bones by the gods. Just a reader, a man who spent years consuming a web novel that no one else cared about, a story called 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse. And then one day, without warning, the world inside that story swallows the world outside it whole. The apocalypse begins, and Kim Dokja is the only human being alive who knows exactly what comes next. Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, known in Korean as Omniscient Reader, is one of the most celebrated manhwa adaptations in modern memory, based on the web novel by the duo known as Sing Shong. This week alone, it's pulling over 8,000 combined upvotes on Manhwa, with readers losing their minds in the comments and a landmark announcement shaking the fandom. 9 years, 311 chapters, and Season 1 is officially over. 9 years. Let that settle. This is not a story that was rushed. It was not designed to be a quick dopamine hit. Omniscient Reader is a labyrinth, philosophical, brutal, emotionally devastating, and absolutely obsessed with the question of what it means to be a reader, a character, and a story all at once. The protagonist is Kim Dokja, an ordinary Korean office worker who is, to everyone around him, nobody, unremarkable, isolated, the sole reader of an obscure web novel. And when the apocalypse begins and constellations, ancient godlike beings who watch humanity like an audience watches a TV show, descend to gamble on human survival, Kim Dokja becomes the most dangerous man alive. Not because he's the strongest, but because he knows the script. The world ends on a subway train. Kim Dokja is commuting to work, phone in hand, finishing the last chapter of 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse, a web novel he has read loyally for a decade, one that nobody else followed, one written by a mysterious author named Tell-S123. And then his phone screen flashes. A system message appears, overlaid on reality like a god clearing their throat. Scenarios begin. The rules of the world rewrite themselves in real time. Monsters spawn in the subway car. People die. Panic tears through the confined metal tube like a lit fuse. And Kim Dokja, calm, calculated, eyes already scanning, knows exactly which monster this is, exactly how to kill it, and exactly which passenger nearby will be important later. He is not brave. He is informed. This is the core engine of Omniscient Reader, and the reason it hits differently from every other apocalypse manhwa. Kim Dokja's power is not a sword, not a flame, not a supercharged body. His power is knowledge. The novel in his memory is a map of the apocalypse, and every scenario humanity is forced into, brutal, gamified, life or death challenges engineered by the constellations above, is a chapter he has already absorbed. The constellations themselves are the first world-building gut punch. These are not vague cosmic forces. They are beings with personalities, beings who treat the human apocalypse as entertainment, as a streaming platform where they bet on their favorite characters, grant them power, and watch them perform. They have favorites, they have agendas, and they quickly notice that Kim Dokja keeps winning scenarios he should have no business surviving, moving with an impossible foreknowledge that bends probability to his will. His early companions form organically. Yoo Jonghyuk, tall, terrifying, carrying the air of a man who has survived the apocalypse not once, not twice, but an uncounted number of times through regression, is the protagonist of the novel Kim Dokja read. The real protagonist, the one the constellations love, the one the story was supposedly built around. He is powerful in a way that makes the ground feel less solid just standing near him. And he does not trust Kim Dokja, not even slightly. Their relationship begins in mutual suspicion, sharpens into something close to a working partnership, and evolves, across hundreds of chapters and multiple lifetimes of accumulated trauma, into something neither of them would dare name out loud. There is Lee Hyun-sung, all loyalty and quiet strength. There is Jung Hee-won, rage wrapped in competence. There is Lee Ji-hye, fierce and searching for something to fight for. There is Han Soo-young, brilliant, vicious, her motives permanently obscured behind a smile that never reaches her eyes. These are Kim Dokja's people, assembled not by fate, but by his deliberate reading of a story and his choice, over and over, to step in front of what was coming. The scenarios escalate. What begins as localized monster-killing events evolves into sweeping civilizational ordeals. The star stream, the vast, incomprehensible system through which the constellations operate, is not merely a game mechanic. It is a structure of power and exploitation that has consumed entire worlds before Earth, that has turned civilizations into entertainment and burned them out when the ratings dropped. Kim Dokja begins to understand that surviving the scenarios is not enough. The end game is not survival. The end game is breaking the system itself. And here is where the story cuts deepest. Because Kim Dokja knows the novel, he knows what the author wrote. But the author, TLS 123, is not a neutral party. The identity of TLS 123 and their relationship to the events of the apocalypse is one of the most devastating slow-burn reveals in the entire genre. The novel was not just a novel. It was a message, a plan, a sacrifice carved into words and sent backward through the wreckage of possibility to reach the one person who would read every single chapter. The one person who would be ready. Kim Dokja's entire existence is recontextualized chapter by chapter. His isolation, the years of reading alone, being the single subscriber to an unread story, was not a wound. It was a selection. He was chosen not by gods, but by a story. Not by power, but by attention. And attention, in a world watched by constellations who feed on narrative, is the most dangerous resource of all. The power system deepens as Kim Dokja awakens his own abilities. Dokja's path toward becoming a reader, a singular constellation-level archetype born from the act of reading, transforms him from a man using borrowed knowledge into something genuinely transcendent. The ability to embody the characters he has read about, to pull their strength and their essence through the membrane between story and reality, is grotesque and beautiful in equal measure. It costs him. Everything costs him. And he pays every time. The arcs move through underground scenarios, divine trials, constellation politics, wars between transcendent beings, and intimate character moments that hit harder than any battle sequence. The world expands until it is cosmic in scope. Multiple star systems, other apocalypse survivor civilizations, the machinery of the star stream laid bare in all its horror. And through it all, Kim Dokja walks forward, knowing more than he says, sacrificing more than anyone realizes, burning his future pages one by one to keep his companions alive. By the time Season 1 closes, 311 chapters, 9 years of story, the world has been remade, shattered, grieved, and defied. The finale does not give you clean resolution. It gives you something better, earned catharsis, characters who have been changed by story in the same way you have been changed by reading it. And then it asks you to keep going. Moment 1. The Soul Reader. Setup. Early in the apocalypse, as other survivors scramble and die, Kim Dokja begins demonstrating knowledge that should be impossible. Constellations watching from the star stream grow curious. One of them directly acknowledges him, addresses him, in a way that breaks the silent contract between audience and performer. Moment. A constellation of immense power looks through the veil at Kim Dokja and recognizes what he is, not a player in their game, but a reader of it. The implication lands like a depth charge. This man, sitting alone on a subway for 10 years, was already inside the story. He was always part of it. Why it hits? Because it reframes every lonely reader in the audience. The act of reading, obsessive, solitary, seemingly useless, becomes a form of power. Dokja is you, and the story is telling you that you were never just a spectator. Moment 2. Yoo Jonghyuk's regressions. Setup. It's gradually revealed that Yoo Jonghyuk, the novel's canonical protagonist, has lived through the apocalypse scenarios dozens of times via regression. He has died, rewound, and fought again, carrying the psychological and physical weight of every repeated lifetime. He does not speak about it. He barely functions as a person anymore. He is a weapon that has forgotten it used to be a man. Moment. A scene where the full scope of Jonghyuk's regression count is implied, and Kim Dokja, who read about those regressions from the outside, looks at this man and mourns him. Not with pity, with something closer to reverence and grief combined. Why it hits? Because the protagonist of the original story has been through hell so many times that protagonist starts to sound like a curse, and Kim Dokja's empathy, the empathy of a reader for a character, is the emotional core of the entire series in a single look. Moment 3. The author's identity. Setup. Throughout the story, TLS 123, the anonymous author of the novel that saved Kim Dokja's life, looms as a mystery. Their writing was too accurate, too detailed, too intimate with the mechanics of a world that shouldn't have existed yet. Moment. The revelation of who TLS 123 truly is, and what they gave up to write that novel, recontextualizes every chapter Kim Dokja ever read. The novel was not documentation. It was a love letter wrapped in instructions, wrapped in a goodbye. Why it hits? It transforms a plot twist into an emotional supernova. You don't just understand the story differently. You feel the years of lonely reading differently. Every chapter he read was a message that was always meant for him. 9 years, 311 chapters. One man who read a story and used it to hold the apocalypse at arm's length long enough for the people around him to survive. Omniscient reader's viewpoint is not just a manhwa. It is a monument to what stories mean, why we read them, what they do to us, and why sometimes the act of paying attention to something no one else cares about is the most important thing a person can do. If this video hit you the way this story hits everyone who enters it, smash that like button, subscribe to Void Scroll so the void stays full, and drop a comment below with the next manhwa you want recapped. The scroll never stops.